Attention!
Welcome to the Film Mages Podcast, where the popcorn is our ammunition, the couch is our foxhole, and the cinema is our place of worship.
Now let me see your war face! Ah!
They're calling it Happy Pride Month. They say, wow, folks, we're so proud. We love the gays, don't we? We love the gays. We love all of our gays. It's wonderful. But it's a very sad day for our country. It's a very sad day for our favorite president. Because I did everything right, and they convicted me. Very sad, folks. Very sad indeed. I'm a very innocent man, and I'm just here to say Happy Pride Month to all of the gays who love Trump. Trump loves the gays.
I gotta say, recording at, 9 in the morning? That's a hell of a way to start the episode.
Hello, everybody.
Where did that even come from?
I did everything right.
It comes from me having a laugh that Trump got convicted of a bunch of crimes.
Right.
It's a fun. I don't know how much it's gonna affect, but it's very funny.
It is nice.
We're allowed to enjoy this one.
Yeah.
You're purely allowed to enjoy it. Your parents who love fucking CNN and NBC,
Which they do.
who thought that Trump was gonna go to prison for his entire presidency.
LOL.
Even though he's probably not gonna go to prison, they're allowed to enjoy this. They're libbed as hell, and that's okay. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Film Majors. I'm Zach.
I'm Mick.
I'm Alexis.
Woo! And Alexis, I will wish you a happy Pride Month as myself as well, not just as former President Donald Trump.
Yeah, that's nice. That's good to
Wow,
open it
thank
up with
you,
not
Zach.
Trump.
I even got my nails done for Pride Month, and since this is a visual medium, I will be sure to show you guys over Zoom, and then detail the fact that my nails are literally like the bi pride flag
Hell fucking yeah!
They look great.
Despite being more pansexual, the bi flag colors are my colors.
The bi flag is very aesthetically
I
pleasing.
love
It
the
is-
bi flag.
It is. It's so good. Also, on my ring finger, the blue on this ring
That's
finger,
tight.
it has a sad clown face on it. And I thought that was very fitting.
What's going on with that?
You know, to be honest, I really just really liked these sad clown nails, and then I thought to myself, oh, that's kind of poetic, right? To have the sad clown nails on the blue strip.
That was, Alexis, that was the cleanest ignoring of the jump into what's going on
Yeah, that
I've
was
ever
really
heard.
good.
That was fucking
But
great.
That's how it should be, though. It should be that smooth.
Yeah, you should just completely ignore. I'll tell you what's going on.
Yeah.
But yes, we are in our
I
famous
know.
segment.
It's like, we should just do that. Because every time out, we just freak out. We should just be like, well, I'll tell you what's going on.
Yeah.
Wait, do you have a happy clown? Nice. Do you have a happy clown on
Mitch
your
just
other...
watched Alexis scratch her pits, if you're wondering why I said nice.
have
I'm
a happy
sweaty.
clown on your
Leave
other
me
finger?
alone. I haven't showered
Boy
yet
sweat
this morning.
Alexis! Boy sweat Alexis!
It's getting hot. I don't like it. I went to the Gay Pride Parade in Tower District yesterday, and like honestly, after an hour, I was like, "Are you ready to go get something to eat?" Because there's too many people. It's too hot, and this is taking too long.
Nice. So do you have
enough.
a happy clown on your other finger?
No, they're
Or
both
is it
sad.
just a
They're
sad
both
clown?
sad clowns.
Oh, they're both sad clowns.
Yeah.
Wow. Damn, well...
Well, it
Speaking
is
of
our
sad
famous,
clowns, you're
it is
looking
our
at 'em, Alexis.
famous segment, What's Going On, where we
That's
talk
right.
about what's going on in our lives and the movies.
So you went to Pride. Did you see any movies at all?
I've seen no movies because my
No movies.
free time that I had yesterday after Pride, my music lesson and getting ice cream with my sister, I used to take a 4.5 hour nap because I'm exhausted.
Wow.
That sounds like a pretty
Damn.
fucking good day,
That's a good
I have to
day.
be honest.
Yeah,
That's a-
and
that's
then
a great day.
I still fell asleep at like 11 p.m. Like I got up at like 7:30 from my nap and then still fell asleep at 11 and slept until 6. So
That's how you know you needed it.
Yeah.
I always
yeah.
love sleeping for just a long period of time. Is work slowing down for you yet, Alexis? Any sign of that? Or are you still forging ahead with like 60-hour weeks?
I am still forging ahead with 60 hour. It's more like, well, 1 week was like almost 90.
That's madness.
That's insane.
Yeah, and it's horrible because like the longest days are always the 3 days right before payroll is due. So it's like the first 2 days, it's like, oh, maybe I'm working like 12 hours, but then the other 3 days are like 15 to like 16, 17 hours.
You can tell that Alexis has worked in the film industry because she says, oh, maybe I'm working 12 hours.
Yeah, that's
if you were
a normal
any
day.
other fucking person, you're like, I worked 4 hours of overtime.
You know, and that's something for the film industry that I learned. I'm surprised I didn't know this, but like, so often I'll talk about, you know, the industry that we work in to people that don't work in it. And they, for some reason, a question that I get a lot is, do you have to bring your own food? But no, they provide you meals. Like,
Yeah.
they bring caterers. They have crafty the whole time.
They allegedly provide you caterers. Let me tell you, the
here's
catering
thing.
on the shoot I'm
It's
working
legally
right now.
it's legally required because the reason that film productions provide meals instead of having you like do a walk away or bring your own is because if they do that, you have to break legally employees after 5 hours of work.
Yeah, that is
So
true.
because we have 6 hours, they have to provide food.
Ah.
So, you know, the next time you're feeling lucky, like, God, isn't it great how I don't have to bring
I'm
my...
getting worked an extra hour.
Yeah, you're getting worked an
I
extra
figured
hour.
there was no way it was out of the
it's
goodness
never,
of their hearts.
It's never generosity.
The catering on this shoot has been very, very weird.
It's been nuts.
Yeah, I did have an allergic reaction one day. But no, just generally, like, it started out normal and it's been, like, progressively more and more, like, strange, cobbled together, like, slop that a divorced dad who's learning how to cook would make.
Mm-hmm.
But that's neither here nor there. I've seen some movies.
What?
I've seen some films that I hadn't seen when last we recorded.
Do you want to talk about the really cool one that we've both seen to start?
What, Moneyball?
No.
You're talking about In a Violent Nature.
We saw In a Violent Nature, the new horror film from Chris Nash,
What a fun movie.
right?
What a good time.
Yeah.
You know, it felt like a real, like...
It's only
like
something
palate
you guys would
cleanser.
say.
Well, it felt like a real palate cleanser after watching Fitzcarraldo, quite frankly.
Yes.
Because
Palate cleanser?
Fitzcarraldo... yeah. Because Fitzcarraldo is like,
Wow.
you know... largely just like meditative shots of beautiful landscapes.
Which this is as well.
But Fitzcarraldo is largely boring, in my opinion.
Yeah, this is.
And, you know, In a Violent Nature, 60% of it is, you know, a guy walking slowly through the woods. 30% of it is just fucking gnarly murders.
I've seen a criticism of it. It's getting kind of mixed reviews, which surprises me a bit. I quite liked it.
It's fun.
I think it's a very good movie.
It's a good time.
But people are like, people are saying, you know, he's walking, murder. He's walking, which, yes, but
What's wrong with with that?
during all of the walking, the suspense is increasing exponentially because. So when I went into this movie,
Did you feel tense during that?
I felt suspense.
Oh,
Yeah.
I was just fucking chilling.
But that's great.
I was
we both had
enjoying
fun.
Yeah, I was enjoying my
for
walk
different
through the
reasons.
woods. I liked Johnny. He
It was
seems
beautiful.
nice.
See, I thought it was Oregon the whole time, and then I found out it was British Columbia at the end.
Canada, baby.
But I was like, God, that looks like it could be in our backyard. Well, former backyard. But I knew that it was from, if you don't know anything about In a Violent Nature, it's basically your typical classic slasher
It's like
picture.
more or less a summer camp slasher. It's,
Exactly. You have these
teens in the woods.
Teens in the woods, and you have this, you know, undead psycho killer who's wielding hooks and an axe, and it's all great. But it's from the perspective of the Jason Voorhees type character. His name is Johnny.
Yeah, it's a very, very Jason type. You change the backstory a little, and it's Jason.
Great. And Johnny,
Johnny,
he's so cool. I love him. When he got the fire mask,
the classic
mask,
firefighter mask.
so cool.
Okay, here's a thing that past and future guest Drew Patterson brought up about this movie that I think is really fun. There's an element of In a Violent Nature where, like, there's a cop character who's like, I've faced this evil before, and my father faced it. So the implication is kind of that, like, in this sort of Terrence Malick Tree of Life style, like, art housey slasher movie, the implication is that the movie we were watching is like Friday the 13th, like 3. Like it's happened before twice. We're in a slasher sequel.
Which I like.
Yeah, it's like, and it kind of makes sense because like the slasher sequels are often the ones where it's like, oh, you know, the actors are just like fucking nobodies. Like we have put absolutely zero effort into the like protagonist story, and we've put all of our effort into doing like really fucked up kills to try to paper that over.
Oh my god, the kills in this movie,
which fits.
She got stretched out.
Oh my god, yeah, somebody gets hugely pretzeled.
It's fantastic. But I have to say though, so about the perspective from the killer, I thought, okay, well, if we know where the killer is, we know what kind of more or less when the kills are going to happen, since it's from the perspective of the murderer, it's probably not going to be like that frightening or that scary or that suspenseful. I was wrong, because the great method of suspense is described by Alfred Hitchcock, which is show the bomb under the table in the conversation, and now suddenly the conversation is no longer just a conversation, now it's terrifying. This is the Cabin in the Woods killer equivalent of that, where now you're showing the killer in the trees, in the bushes, so that you know something is going to happen and you're just waiting for the inevitable, which was so much fun. I don't agree that it was a slog or that it was dull or that it's trying to reconstruct the slasher genre.
I mean, it is a little. But I feel like
it's successful in it. Yeah, I think it's successful in that endeavor.
Every good slasher is, like nowadays, we're past the slasher boom. It's similar to like a Western. You have to riff on it.
Which I'll get to later.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well, but yeah, In a Violent Nature, fun time. If you're a horror fan, go see it.
Especially because it's a like creature makeup effects artist who has now directed a movie.
Oh, fuck yeah.
So
Let's go, Chris Nash.
I like that Chris Nash was listed as director, and he was also listed in the prosthetics makeup department in his own film.
Cool.
It's pretty sick.
Rad.
What else have you seen, Zach?
Moneyball, baby.
You finally saw Moneyball.
I watched Moneyball.
What'd you think?
I really enjoyed Moneyball, and I'm usually not a very big Aaron Sorkin fan.
It's a good movie, right?
Great
What
Brad
else?
Pitt performance.
What else has Aaron Sorkin done?
He did He wrote The Social Network. He's often a writer. He started directing movies.
Didn't he do the Trial of Chicago
7, which I skipped.
I didn't love that movie.
I just tend to. He did a few good men.
It's so funny. I think I've loved like all of his movies. Then
I find his protagonists often just like unbearably fucking smug.
There's a bit of pretension.
I don't like his vibe. I don't dig him. I don't dig the vibe he brings to set. I find his like neoliberal politics and like general filleting of the United States, and goddamn, aren't our institutions great? I don't like that. But I liked Moneyball because it's not your typical Sorkin protagonist. Like, obviously, it has some similar things. If it's like, oh, it's a guy who's right, and there's a bunch of dumb people trying to stop him from being right. But he's played by Brad Pitt, who just has like a very chill, likable energy. And yeah, it made me care about baseball, which is tough because I don't really give a shit about baseball. So yeah, fun movie. I've really enjoyed saying that I'm going to recreate things in the aggregate. That's been fun.
You've really been enjoying that.
I have. Yeah, no, and I'm just about, once I cut you two from this podcast, I'm going to hire like 6 other hosts to recreate you in the aggregate.
I do have tickets to see a movie today. So
Ooh,
what are you going to see?
Where are you going?
Everything that anyone needs to know about me can be summed up in the fact that Challengers is getting a reissue for an extended week, and I'm going to go see it again with my sister, who also is the same person I went to go see it with the first time.
Yeah,
and I was like, hey, what do you want to do on our day off? And she was like, I don't know. And I was like, hey, do you want to go see Challengers again? And she was like, yeah.
Good for you. Actually, the other day, I thought it's odd that I haven't seen it twice in theaters because I really love that movie.
Yeah,
Good for you. Happy fucking Pride.
To be
Alexis,
honest,
goddamn right.
I really do need to go see it again because I did miss the first, I would say, like 5 minutes of the movie the first time because me and my sister were late.
Wow. Well, yeah, I can't tell you if a lot happens in those opening 5 minutes.
I've seen a clip of it, like kind of part of what I missed on TikTok. So, I mean, I don't think I missed much, but it'll be nice to see it from beginning to end this time.
Yes. Fuck
nice.
Yeah. That's gonna be a good rewatch. I saw a new movie.
What'd you see?
Well, I saw Richard Linklater's new Hitman.
Oh, I'm so excited for that.
Starring Glenn Powell. And written by Glenn Powell. I think
and Linklater, right?
Huh?
I thought they
co-wrote. Co-wrote. For a second, I thought you were saying that he was also in it, but I see what you mean now. He wrote it. Yes. Also, Adria Arjona, I think, is the name of
Nailed it. I'm sure.
Who plays the love interest? And I have to say, this movie was very, very good. I really liked it. Glenn Powell. I think I speak for all three of us, maybe, when I say that we're all big Glenn Powell fans.
I like a Glenn Powell.
Alexis, how do you feel about Glenn Powell? Yeah. Okay, so we're all Glenn Powell champions.
We're at least moderately Glenn Powell positive.
Yeah, he's just like too perfect. Yeah. He's like too perfect of a white boy for me to really be that into him. So
you're suspicious.
I've heard, it's funny. I've heard that criticism of him before, which it's completely valid.
Yeah,
he's
just
very
like cookie cutter a little bit in a way.
Cookie cutter.
Yeah, and I'm like, he seems like all American, and I'm like, no, thank you.
But he's just super attractive. He's super talented, and he is so funny in Hitman because he gets to do all of these wacky, zany. Like, if there's a spectrum of hitmen personality, he covers the full spectrum. He plays weird, leather-covered Eastern European assassins. He plays, like, very, very right-wing fascist country boy hick assassin. And he does each one incredibly convincingly. In fact, I am... kind of friends. We met once, but I know the person who did all of the teeth for Glenn Powell for this, and it really ties together all of his characters. It's amazing how changing the teeth completely changes the character. Does a really good job. So follow Teeth by Archer on Instagram. He does really great work, and the movie's great. It is such a cute movie. It is so charming. It's a great date night movie. It's incredibly sexy. There's a scene where very steamy foreplay becomes very steamy crime evasion. You'll know what I mean when you see the film. And I saw it at the Egyptian on Hollywood Boulevard. And I had never been to the Egyptian before. And that is a fantastic cinema. So if you're in LA... you're looking for a really great cinema go to Grauman's Egyptian Theater.
Yeah, that's probably one of the only movies you're going to be... Honestly, by the time this episode comes out, Hitman might no longer be in theaters.
Yeah, it's a Netflix original.
It got picked up by Netflix at Cannes last year.
Oh, did it? Oh, so they're just... Oh, okay, they're distributing it. Gotcha.
Well, great.
Check it out.
I watched Beverly Hills Cop, was another thing. Alexis, you had a thing?
I wanted another side note because my sister was hanging out with somebody the other day and he threw on a movie, right? And in the middle of like the opening of it, she was like, "Oh, is this a Guy Ritchie movie? Is this a Guy Ritchie?" And he was like, "How can you tell?" And she's like, "I don't know. It's just like the credits and like the music and something about the way that they're talking. I don't know, but it just seems like a Guy." And she literally came to me like the next day and she was like, "Guess what?" I was just so proud of her because she's not really like.
What movie was it?
It was Ministry
of Ungentlemanly Warfare.
Yes, the Ministry of Ungentlemanly Warfare.
Tight, dude. Tight.
We are. Alexis, we and you specifically are doing the Lord's work.
We really are. We really are.
We're out here genuinely. I feel like many people in like the film discussion space are anti Guy Ritchie.
Yeah,
and I'm glad we are pushing back on this.
Exactly. You know what? I'm going to pat myself on the back because I love doing it, but also I feel like I'm also doing the Lord's work here because I'm actually seeing his movies in theaters as they're coming out.
Yeah, that is true. I did miss it,
so you should check it out. And you know what? Yeah. You know, fucking Natalie has got both of you guys fucking like on the back foot here by watching Ministry of Ungentlemanly Warfare. She is doing the Lord's work.
Well, I
have to say, what'd she think of it?
She loved the series, The Gentleman, and that was kind of her first like real foray.
Good show.
And then she's seen this movie, but I don't know. I think it's she said she liked the movie. She is not like a film person like we are, but I am constantly talking about movies. Like we'll watch something, I'm like, oh yeah, this person's in this movie, and this movie, and this movie, and I've like been telling her that we need to see the actual The Gentleman movie, and she's now very, very down to like watch it. So I'm very excited.
That's
Fuck yeah. Go listen to our Gentleman episode on YouTube.
Our first episode.
Yeah.
Which is insane to think about. That's actually one thing I'm incredibly proud of is that our first ever episode covers The Gentleman by Guy Ritchie.
I love that was like was that it was a compromise, right? We all agreed that The Gentleman was a really good movie.
I mean, I don't know if that's really a compromise. I think we were all just... That's one of those rare films that all three of us just dig.
Oh, I always just refer to whatever week that all three of us select a movie as a compromise week because we all have to agree on it. That's what I tell my sister.
I can see that.
Yeah.
I guess.
No, that is how I tend to talk about it. Or a consensus week.
Consensus week, yeah.
So, yeah, well, that's more or less what's going on with me. As I said, I watched Beverly Hills Cop. I enjoyed it.
It's good, right?
I miss...
Axel Foley.
I think that the formula of... charismatic movie star has to solve a crime is a good one. And we had one this summer in theaters called The Fall Guy, and not enough of you went to go see it.
True, y'all dropped the ball on that because I saw it like on the TV, and that shit was fun as fuck.
Sounds like you dropped the ball on it. I'm so kidding. I'm saying as you work 60-hour weeks.
Yeah. I'm the neutral party in that one. Yes, good movie. I also saw, speaking of, earlier you were like, it's kind of like deconstructing the Western.
Yeah.
I saw, last night, The Dead Don't Hurt.
Oh, the Viggo one.
Viggo Mortensen's newest Western, starring Viggo Mortensen.
That's out?
That's out. Came out last night.
Oh, shit.
And Vicky Creeps.
Is it Creeps? Yeah, Vicky Creeps of Phantom Thread fame.
Love her. She is so good in this movie. Oh, my God. She is so charming. I fell in love with her immediately. If you put Viggo Mortensen in the lead role, I'm going to fall in love with him immediately, and I did, and it was so sweet, and what a sad fucking movie. This movie... passed the MIG test with flying colors. If you're a new listener, if you don't know what the MIG test is, if a movie passes the MIG test, it means that it made me weep. And after the movie ended, my girlfriend was like, wow, yeah, that's good. All right. Looks at me. You ready to go? I'm like, just hold on 1 minute. She's like, okay, well, I have to go to the bathroom. So she just like leaves. And I sat there during the end credits for probably a good 5 minutes, just like one little tear after one, like another. It just had an effect on me. It's really good. It's not a masterpiece. I saw some people compare this movie to Unforgiven, the Clint Eastwood Western that I saw like a month ago for the first time. That is also like a deconstruction of the Western. This is very much like that, but it's mainly it's a romance drama set amongst the Western backdrop. And I just enjoyed it so much. And it's the beginning, it's edited a little strangely because it jumps time, not time zones, but just like it's all over the place in terms of like generations, but it doesn't give you like text underneath saying like, oh, 20 years ago or anything like that. So you kind of have to catch up to it as to what it's doing. So it's a little clunky in the beginning. And but it just really worked for me. In fact, there's this, I'm not going to spoil anything, But there is a fantastic Easter egg in this movie. There is this vision that a character keeps having of a knight in shining armor on a horse. And the horse and the knight is trotting down this trail in the woods. And I kind of squint. I'm going to go real film nerd here for a second. And I squint. I'm like, that sword looks awfully fucking familiar.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, Viggo Mortensen.
Oh, my God.
Used his Aragorn sword.
It has been forged again.
It was tight as fuck. I was like so excited. Like, that is so cool because
Mick,
as we all know,
I was zoning out during that story, and then you brought me back.
I brought you back, buddy. Yeah, no, I think that's a really cool thing. He also does all of his own horse riding in this movie. He's great. He speaks French. He's fantastic. But yeah, the movie starts with showing you a really terrible thing, and you know where the movie's going to go. But then the rest of the movie, you see all these really sweet, tender moments that, because it starts off by showing you something so terrible, you appreciate the moments more. You appreciate the good times, which I think makes it all the more tragic. But good movie. Check it out. I don't think it's going to be in theaters that long. And then the last movie that I saw, a new film, was Furiosa, a Mad Max saga again.
Oh, wow.
I went and saw it a second time, this time on IMAX, and still really, really like it. But I do think it's going to stay at a 4 for me right now because it kind of runs out of gas for me in the last act.
Interesting.
I think that's my main reservation with that film. But everything else about it is really, really good.
Yeah, go see it.
You really should see it. Please help it in any way you can because it's just like it. I really want it to make its money back. It's such a gorgeous film. Alexis, definitely check out Furiosa when you can.
I definitely will. I just, there's a hierarchy of needs.
I know. Alexis, you're better at that than I am. I legit turned down work today because we're recording an episode.
Wow.
Yeah. I'm just
crazy.
Nah, I'm good. I
appreciate it.
Yeah, no, I wasn't.
I
didn't want to.
today.
I didn't want to be like, hey, I can't. Like, oh, we're gonna have to find a new time because I just, jumped on a commercial. No, this podcast is too important to me.
Wow.
Yeah,
you're a sick guy. You're sick in the head.
LOL.
But I love you. Okay.
You're welcome, listeners.
Well, do we have anything else?
Oh, I started Vyvanse last week, and your girlfriend's right. It's great. Because the first medication they had me on last month was horrible.
Well, thank you, listeners, for sending us Vyvanse.
God, Alexis, you had to be on a medication that was not working for you during boat month?
Well, I was only on that medication
so
for 1.5 weeks because it made me so tired that I had to take every single day at work. I had to take a nap in the middle of the day. So thankfully, for like 15 minutes to like recoup myself because it made me that like fatigued for some reason and fucking nauseous as shit. I couldn't eat anything. God bless Vyvanse.
God bless Vyvanse.
Listeners, thank you for sending us Vyvanse.
Thank you so much. That was great. And the unmarked envelopes too.
Yeah, you really
sick.
pulled through.
That was really cool. Thank you so much. But in terms of like new releases and movies and stuff like that, that pretty much does it for me. Except for there's a little news that I think we should share. This was probably going to date the episode because people are going to listen back to this eventually and they're going to go, oh, that's really old news. But they released casting for the new Knives Out film.
Oh, yeah, they did.
And I'm really excited because apparently it's taking place at a big mansion again. And the mansion is apparently going to be undergoing extreme renovations because Jeremy Renner is in the cast.
Wait, did they cast Renner?
Yes. but not to be in the movie, but to just do renovations on the set.
Shut the fuck up.
He's like in the construction
crew.
Shut
the fuck up.
I know.
Stop
It's just really exciting.
God damn it. I can't believe that you're the one doing the renovations bit.
Hey man, you got to get to it first.
I've forced people to watch bits of renovations.
I haven't even seen renovations.
Like, not really.
Ironically.
But as a bit, a couple times.
It's funny. Question. Did you see the movie Argyle as a bit?
A little.
So that is what's fascinating about you as a person. Is that you endure lengthy things that are probably painful for a bit.
Yeah, man. That's the bit.
Great. I mean, it's fascinating. I just think that's really fascinating.
With movies, I tend to pick one a year.
Yeah, you mentioned that.
I tend to pick one bit that me and past and future guest Jake Sabat hype up because it looks extremely mid. And then we go watch it.
Tight.
We've had a weird track record the past couple of years because last year it was No Hard Feelings, which was good. And this year it was Argyle, which was fucking dreadful.
I can't say that I do that. I don't have a one a year that I'm like, okay, I know
this is the one I'm goofing around with.
Yeah,
it's
like I'll roll the dice. Like, oh, I think this probably going to be bad, but it could be good. Like that was Abigail for me this year, the vampire ballerina movie.
Yeah,
like I was pretty convinced that was going to be bad, and I watched it, and it was really fun. It was good. Not a great movie, but it was fun.
Okay,
it's cool.
Guess what, guys?
What?
They are doing like a limited release of the extended versions of Lord of the Rings in theaters.
Yeah, we heard about that.
And I was like, I saw that when I was, because this week, since I was like, hey, I think things are going to be a little bit less next week. I think I might have some time to go see some movies. And then my immediate response was, guess what they're playing? And my nephew was like, what? And I was like, extended edition Lord of the Rings, and he was like, all right, you just lost me there. Boo,
skill issue.
I know.
God, these kids these days, man.
I'm very excited.
No focus.
Well, he was just being born, I think, or maybe he was 1 year old when the first one came out, so I think it missed him.
When was he born? 2000?
2002.
So he was born the year the Two Towers came out.
Yeah.
He was probably born after the Two Towers came out because he was born in December.
Well, he was born after the Two Towers went down.
There it is.
LOL.
And with that, let's hop out of what's going on.
Wow. Yeah, as soon as Two Towers in 2002 was said, I was like, we're T-minus like 10 seconds from a 9/11 joke.
Well, look.
2001,
unlike you two,
right?
I didn't.
Yeah, he was born after the Two Towers went down.
But you know what? I just said it because I didn't forget, like you two. Always remember.
Remember what?
You know, the thing.
Okay. Hey, we're out of Pope Month and we're into a new month, and it's queer cinema.
What a hell of a way to open Pride Month.
It's being gay, guys. Just do it with me.
It is giving gay.
They call it being gay. I looked at that guy and said, wow, he's gay.
The SS Film Majors is entering the gay waters.
All right, okay.
Although to be fair, our Salty Sea Dog was always a homosexual.
Yeah, you didn't know that our Salty Sea Dog character is gay?
Like, you should just assume that, listeners, because all pirates are gay.
That's why we love
pirate movies.
What else do you do on a boat?
I got cabin fever, and you're driving me insane.
Ugh.
So, for our big topic for our first Pride episode of this year, this is Pride, the sequel.
The squeakquel.
It is the squeakquel. What is our big topic? What did we decide on again, Zach?
We landed on best looking films of the 21st century.
That is right. And let's open it up to the table. What are some of the best looking, the most gorgeous, the most beautiful to look at films of the 21st century? Anyone got any shout outs?
Pride and Prejudice, bitch.
Of course.
Classic.
I love how I feel like Lexus always has Pride and Prejudice like up her sleeve.
It's locked and loaded
for any topic that might apply to it. But I have to say, most gorgeous movie of the 21st century. I think that is a good shout, especially like when they're under the sheets and just the glow of them, like her and her sister. That is such a beautiful sequence.
I think also when she's like on the cliff, like when they're doing their tour of the country with her aunt and uncle, and she's on the cliff, and then you just have that like sweeping piano music underneath, the wind's blowing, and you just see like a very expansive like English countryside landscape. Yeah, it's just pretty glorious. And I mean, like, and then beautiful. She finds out that the man that, wanted to marry her has this huge fucking gorgeous house. And what an exciting time, right?
Beautiful.
It's tight. It's such a warm feeling film. Like, just like the color temperature of the light. There's some movies that just capture the feeling of sunlight really well, and that's definitely one of them.
I think so, because sunrise at the very beginning of the movie, I think you can really feel it, like when it's starting. Yeah,
it's gorgeous. Yeah, good pick. I take it back. That's a great fucking pick. We love Pride and Prejudice. We should cover that movie again.
Oh wait, we already did.
We should cover it again.
Oh my god, you're
Never
a sick
before
guy.
have I ever had such exquisite boiled potatoes.
A DP that I want to shout out is Bill Pope.
Bill Pope is great.
He's a guy who has never been nominated for an Oscar.
Which is insane.
And he shot the second Sam Raimi Spider-Man movie, which I think is just a gorgeous movie to look at.
He does all the Wachowski stuff, right?
Yes, he did the Matrix. He did Bound. Yeah. He hasn't done all of their stuff, but he did all of the Matrix movies, which the Matrix sequels came out in the 21st century. Look great. Mm-hmm. He did Scott Pilgrim versus the World. He did Baby Driver. I think and The World's End as well. I think he's just such a talent. Spider-Man 2 would be probably my talking about things he shot in the 21st century that I think just look like incredible. Kind of a similar thing to what you guys are talking about with Pride and Prejudice in terms of like movies that capture sunlight really well. I think that movie escalates the thing that Raimi kind of starts in the first Spider-Man movie. Go back and listen to our episode. Which is this sort of like idealized version of New York.
Yep.
This like kind of timeless New York City that like exists kind of in modern day, but kind of in the 1960s and kind of never. And I think Bill Pope captures that really, really well in that second movie, which I think is just a gorgeous movie. But again, bringing up another film we've covered on this podcast. I said this during our Mad Max Fury Road episode.
Yeah.
But the shot of Furiosa on top of the dune, as like the wind blows by her and she screams, the sand is moving, I think is maybe the best shot of the 21st century.
Good pick.
I love that movie. I love how it looks. Yeah, it's not much else to be said there. John Seal was the DP on that.
Nice.
Yeah. So there's a few things for me to get the ball rolling.
Nice. I know this is the obvious choice, but I just have to shout him out. My boy Roger Deakins. We love him. The two movies that I have to give a particular shout out to. One is the assassination of Jesse James.
Oh my God, yeah.
Which please watch that movie. It's a really good film. Great cast, but it's just so perfect. It just looks so good. But another Roger Deakins film that every time I watch it, I just marvel at what they were able to put up on screen is Blade Runner 2049. That is a beautiful looking picture.
Yeah.
Like with the sci-fi, the miniatures, the effects and everything, just the coming together is just one of those movies you can just pause at any point and just like it's just so beautiful. It's really, really well done. And then also like when they go to Las Vegas and the light is like super orange.
Yeah.
I was like, that's a really cool, aesthetic choice. And then in I think it was 2021, when we had horrible forest fires in California, the sky turned orange.
Oh my God, yeah, that was 2020.
Was that 2020? And I remember going out, I was like, holy fuck, it is exactly like that scene in Las Vegas. It's exactly the same. So now I watch that movie with more of a... And I don't even know if I can give them
creeping dread.
I can't even give them like credit for them like, oh, they really nailed that, because I don't know if they're like, no, this is exactly how it looks, but it is exactly how it looks. That's the color of the sky when there's just like a shit ton of smoke up in the air. It's really frightening. But anyways, great movie, really beautiful looking. Alexis,
Call Me by Your Name, Baby. Another movie that catches sunlight
1000%.
very, very well.
Yeah. 1000%. The colors are gorgeous. The color of the water when they're getting like then they're finding like the statues and they're pulling them up from the bay. It's so fucking beautiful. Mm-hmm. The color of his swim trunks.
Mick?
When they're just hanging from the faucet in the tub.
Are you okay?
It's like really creamy.
Mick, come back to us.
No, man.
Mick!
I just remember it's Pride Month. Look, I'm just saying I would eat that peach.
All right.
Oh my God.
Zach, have you seen it yet?
That's your prerogative.
Have you seen it yet?
Yes, I've seen Call Me By Your Name.
Would you eat the peach?
No.
Why?
I'm good.
Why?
I don't need it.
Eat the peach.
I'm not gonna. You can't make me.
Eat the peach, Jerry.
I'm saying no to the tea.
Okay, so a couple other quick shout-outs from me. Talking the Wachowskis. David Tattersall, Speed Racer.
Tattersall.
Nothing looks like Speed Racer.
I've never seen it.
You gotta watch it.
I've heard it's good.
And David Tattersall also shot... It all comes back to the Star Wars prequels. He shot all of the Star Wars prequels, which I do not think look good, and I will not be mentioning in the best-looking films of the 21st century. But he did also shoot Con Air. And then The Lighthouse is another movie. I mean, the way they shot that is just incredible.
Good pick.
Using actual lenses from the 1920s on contemporary film cameras. Like, it's such a genius method of doing that. Jaron Blachky. Mm-hmm. I mean, he shot all of Eggers' movies.
Yeah.
He had a split credit on Knock at the Cabin, which I think is also a phenomenal looking movie. And he shot the upcoming Robert Eggers directed Nosferatu.
Which I'm very excited. I'm hoping that's going to be the feel-bad movie of the Christmas season.
Yeah.
I'm really hoping. I love those.
Yeah, it's another great looking movie. Girl with the Dragon Tattoo.
Honestly, Fincher films.
All of Fincher's work. I mean, Zodiac is like unreal. Out of this world looking movie. Alexis?
I would not be me if I did not shout out at least one anime.
Shout it out.
Good.
A couple years ago, I went and saw Suzume in theaters. It's by Makoto Shinkai, and he also did the movies Weathering with You and Your Name, which I think I made you watch with me, Mick. Those movies are also very good looking, and so it was kind of like, oh wow, I can't believe that he actually made a movie look more bright and colorful, and like, I don't know, I do remember not loving the movie from start to finish. Like, story wise, I thought things got convoluted, but the thing that I remember thinking all throughout it was like, wow, does this animation just look gorgeous? So yeah,
good shout. Last couple that I'll just list really quickly, just to pay respects. Robert D. Yeoman, who he shot The Grand Budapest Hotel. I think that is one of the best looking films of the 21st century, which is a big comment. This is one of those things where quite often people complain, and probably rightfully so, that the cinematographers get a lot of credit for really good production design. And I feel like this is one of those examples. But you know what? I will say it's such a gorgeous film. I love all of the, I love the miniatures, the birthday cake aesthetic, and Adam Stockhausen. That's the production designer. I'm going to shout him out. Good work, Adam Stockhausen.
Yeah.
Grand Budapest Hotel looks fantastic. And then this was one I mentioned to Zach. This is a movie that every time I watch it, I'm blown away by how good it looks. And you wouldn't normally expect it. But Bohan Bazeli.
Yes, I'm looking at the exact same one.
A Cure for Wellness.
Yeah, brother. Freaking yeah, brother.
That is
a Cure for Wellness, baby.
That's
yeah,
a very sickly looking film. But the shots outside of the train, the castle.
You're saying it, brother. It is a sick looking film.
Well, just it is just so beautiful. It is really, really good. It's very gothic. It's very cold, and like I said, it's very sickly, but just the production design, everything coming together. I think A Cure for Wellness is underrated as one of the most beautiful movies of the 21st century.
I think it's underrated, period. Go watch it.
Do we have any others that we want to shout out really quickly before we move on to our main event?
No, you took mine.
Oh. Alexis?
The Favorite.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. Yeah, good.
Got the juice. Got the juice. Got the
You got
juice.
the juice. Yeah.
Good.
Fuck it, I'll shout out all the work Janusz Kaminski has been doing with Steven Spielberg.
Right.
I don't know. I feel like maybe there's a tendency to not mention that because it's like, yeah, it's Spielberg. But I mean, gorgeous work. West Side Story and The Fabelmans, just the last two beautiful movies.
Nice.
All right.
Well, folks, the reason that we are talking about perhaps some of the most beautiful films ever captured on camera in the 21st century is because today we're starting Pride Month by discussing Céline Sciamma. I know I'm still butchering that. Céline Sciamma's 2019 Portrait of a Lady on Fire, who that film was shot by Claire Methon. She is the DP behind it. It's directed by a woman. It's shot by a woman. It's about women. This is a movie about women. So let's go ahead and, if you guys don't mind, I will read our little plot synopsis here.
Read away.
France, 1770. Marianne, a painter, is commissioned to do the wedding portrait of Elise, a young woman who has just left the convent. Elise is a reluctant bride-to-be, and Marianne must paint her without her knowing. She observes her by day to paint her secretly. So, film majors, what does this movie mean to you?
Well, first and foremost, it means that you pronounced Heloise wrong.
Sorry.
But I don't know. I kind of want to throw it over to Alexis, honestly, because Alexis, you actually watched this movie when it came out, yeah?
Great question. I know that I watched it the year it came out, but I don't think that I saw it in theaters. I think that I watched it with my partner at the time at home, and I suspect that we were tipsy, as we often were, because there were parts of this movie that I was like, I don't know if I remember that detail right there. So it was an interesting rewatch. But what was your question?
Oh, just what your relationship to it was that you had seen it before. I
didn't take any medication today. It's okay. So, I saw it for the first time in, I guess, 2019. Yeah, that timeline makes sense. And I mean, I didn't even have to go back and rate it on Letterboxd because it's already rated 5 stars in my Letterboxd. And I was like, oh, great. That's exactly what I was going to rate it anyway. So that's perfect. I don't know. I remember watching the movie and thinking like, perfect movie, no notes. And that is exactly how I felt this time. I was like, perfect movie, no notes.
Well, I had a note for the roofers working on our fucking building.
Well, I mean, first of all, thank God they're working on the building.
I mean,
to bring it up to code.
They do have to, yeah. I am glad that we are going to have a roof that meets the legal standard for roofs.
Yeah.
That's good. But I had to watch this. I had like one day to watch this, essentially. I have been very busy working on this indie horror movie that I'm script supervising. And it's, I had one day off.
Yeah.
And I was doing something later in the day. Mm-hmm. So I had to squeeze this movie in the morning.
Right.
And the roofers were going fucking nuts up there. And this is a very quiet and, simmering movie. There's a lot of long stairs, and let me tell you, when those are playing with a fucking jackhammer going above your head, they don't quite hit the same emotional
It's a very
note.
quiet movie. You need silence.
I was here at the time, and I was eating breakfast, and I wasn't even bothering trying to watch the movie at that time. I was laughing out loud because of just how poor viewing experience that must have been.
Awful. It's a testament. I gave this movie 4 stars.
Yeah, that speaks to the movie.
I believe my review said it is a testament to how good this movie is that I enjoyed it as much as I did with a jackhammer above my fucking head. It was kind of a similar viewing experience to me to another film that I think is incredible, different kind of movie, but Solo, or the 120 Days of Sodom, a movie that I watched at past and future guest Edwin's place as a tailgate was going on nearby outside. So I'm watching horrific crimes perpetrated by fascists as The Boys Are Back in Town plays from outside. So
it's very profound.
Yeah, it was kind of that was the most comparable viewing experience I've had to this, but this was worse. But yes, I liked the film.
I did not have that viewing experience. I was lucky that I had a bit more time on my hands. So my relationship to this movie is, I don't know if our co-host Alexis will even remember this, but back in college, probably 2019, we saw Call Me By Your Name. We watched it at your apartment, and we were both incredibly horny for the movie.
Oh, yeah.
Like we were drinking wine.
Yeah.
The wine was whining. We watched Call Me By Your Name. We were like, oh my God, that is the most spicy shit we've ever seen. So we wanted to
chord, and it's probably A minor.
We wanted to keep the ball rolling of like really beautiful, horny gay films. And so they had A Portrait of a Lady on Fire on streaming. And so we decided to watch Portrait of a Lady on Fire like right after, do a double feature. And, once you're like a bottle or two of wine deep, you just saw Call Me By Your Name. We started watching Portrait of a Lady on Fire. And I remember distinctly like we were probably like 15, 20 minutes into it. And we both kind of looked at each other. We were like, yeah, this movie ain't working. It's not spicy fast enough. It's really slow. It looks beautiful, but this ain't the vibe. And then we crashed or we threw something else on. I don't remember. But that was my relationship. If you listen to our last episode, when I picked this movie, it's because I didn't pay the due respect to this movie that I know it deserves. I had tried 15, 20 minutes of it, really intoxicated. I remember it looking gorgeous, but I remember it's not spicy enough. Where's the peach?
Funny.
Give me the peach. And
it makes me think about that Mulaney bit from the Independent Spirit Awards. Call me by your name. More like fuck me by Act 3. Just fuck already, guys.
LOL.
And I saw this movie a few nights ago. I had all of the lights off. We have a very beautiful television. And this movie looks gorgeous on the TV. And I turned off all the lights and I lit some candles. And the candles were flickering. So it's a great movie to watch with candlelight. And that was like, oh my God. It was so, so good. I am blown away because our first ever episode on this show, listeners, our big topic was great 2019 films. And we often talk about how incredible that year is for movies. And then Alexis did the great thing, the great act of showing Zach and I Little Women.
I had seen Little Women.
Well, I hadn't seen it, but showed both of us anyways.
Yeah,
First time watch for me.
I respect women, Mick.
And I was blown away that was a movie that came from 2019 because it's so fucking good. And then I watched this, a 2019 film, and it is a masterpiece. It is so good. This, I honestly think, one of the best love stories I've seen in a very long time. And I was thinking about it. This is the best first time watch I've had for this show this year.
Wow.
This is better than Cabaret.
Wow. Oh, I don't agree with that, but
I know you don't. But you like fascism, so
yeah, that's Cabaret, a movie fascists love.
You like it because there are Nazis in it.
Sure,
you told me
man,
that.
Totally.
You like the Hitler used.
That's what I said.
You've told me that,
absolutely.
Zach. Come on.
Yeah, no, you're right, man.
You're gaslighting me on the air.
Carry on.
I really like this film. I think this is the best first time watch I've had of this whole show. I mean, this was so good.
Of the whole show?
Of the whole show this year.
Okay, I was about to say this is episode 89, buddy.
It is just it is so good.
Well, it's a gay period drama, so I'm just gonna say that it's hitting all the right points.
Exactly. I mean, it's so great
That's
that we're
exactly in Alexis's Q zone.
I love like opening up Pride Month for us covering a period piece. And I have to say, the morning that Zach was watching this movie, I'm going to fucking call you out, buddy, so buckle
Good.
up.
I was already in a bad mood because the
go.
fucking jackhammer was going.
I woke up not to the sound of the construction, not to the sound of kids playing outside my window, because I did have my window open.
And both of those things were happening.
Were both very loud. I woke up to the sound of Zach complaining to our friend Sang in the living room that you're so over this European period shit.
Yeah, I totally am.
Which is such a lame take, dude.
It's not a lame take.
It is lame.
No, you know what's not
You need to
lame
get
about
on
it is that
board.
there are period pieces that don't take place in fucking Europe.
Yeah, but it's not period piece blues right now, is
I'm
it? It's
just
Pride Month. Just
saying,
have fun, man.
we can look elsewhere.
There's
okay.
a great quote that I
But do
heard.
we want to?
Yeah.
Yes!
Zach,
The handmaiden exists!
I think I speak for our listeners, and I
Okay.
think I speak for
It's an
Alexis when I say,
exception. Okay.
grow up, Zach. Grow
Little
up.
Women exists!
Grow up, Zach.
Boogie Nights exists!
Zach, grow
there
up.
are periods that are not the fucking Regency.
I'm sorry, listeners. He's just not growing up.
Okay.
I'm
First of all-
I'm actually a
First of
more
all-
worldly man than you, Mick.
No.
Yes, yeah,
Why
no,
are you
sorry,
complaining?
sorry, I don't love the fucking colonialist Europeans.
Is that what I'm saying?
Yeah,
no,
it
I'm
is. You're
saying
saying
that
I'm
movies,
horny
the
for
Regency
Europe.
period.
I'm horny
You
for
watched a
fucking
movie-
Europe. I'm horny for the Queen. That's what you're saying.
No, see, God, you sound like such a fucking child.
No, I sound
You
like a
do,
goddamn
Zach.
worldly man.
We're not even talking about
A
the Queen. We're talking
worldly
about Portrait
fucking
of a Lady on
man.
Fire right now.
I
It
like
takes place
the
in
movie.
France.
I'm talking generally about our view on period pieces.
I'm just saying, I'm shouting you out because you were complaining about fucking European period pieces.
and
Let me
I'm
just
damn
say,
right.
buckle up for period piece.
Yeah, well, you know, we could sneak in a movie that's not all fucking stuffy white people in fucking Europe. And I stand by that.
Alexis,
Yes.
find some common ground here because Zach just isn't growing up. I'm so sorry.
I'm going to hit you
What is
soon.
it? Oh, do it, buddy.
Watcha!
Do it, buddy. Not growing up. Alexis, what do you think about this film? Take it away.
I mean, it's perfect because I think the only time that we have any men in it is for like less than 5 seconds. We get a clip of like a guy sitting at the breakfast table, like towards like the end of the third act, to be honest. And so to me, this makes this movie perfect because there is no intervention of any men into the world of women. Also, one thing that really struck me, I'm sure the first time that I saw it, but it definitely now, is I mean, it's made by a woman, so of course she understands the experience, but like when that one girl, what's her name? The servant girl. Do you know what her name is?
The character?
Sophie.
When she's so basically she's pregnant, but of course she doesn't want the baby. And, you know, back then, you know, I don't think it was as fucking weird for a woman to, you know, perform, you know, with herbs and all these different things to, you know, get rid of a pregnancy. And so she goes to this woman's house and I think she puts some sort of like a paste up into her vaginal canal. And it's so, I don't know. I just love the way that scene plays because you have your two main characters in the corner and the painter looks away and Eloise tells her, no, don't look away. Like, you know, like see it. You're always looking at things. Don't let this be the time that you look away from it. And then you have Sophie on the bed having someone put paste into herself. And then you have these children who are also on the bed. And you get this almost like a medium close-up shot of Sophie just next to the little baby. And the little baby is holding her hand while this woman is like putting paste into her vaginal canal. Mm-hmm. And it's just so... I think that in some ways, I'm not sure how to put this into words, but that's so indicative of the female experience, is such great loss while also experiencing life around you, and not getting the opportunity to look away from that and to not experience that, because it's constantly and because our bodies are capable of life and loss in that way, that we experience that around us in a different way. And I think that scene right there really kind of encompasses that for me. And so I don't know. I love the movie in general. You know me, I love a good gay longing.
Yeah.
But that scene in particular, I thought was very profound for me in particular. And then also towards the end, when not the very last time that she sees Eloise, but the second to last time, when she's in the art gallery and she sees the portrait of her with her child, and she has her book in her lap, and her book is open to page 28, which is the page that she drew herself, like a self-portrait into. And so, of course, you know, how will I remember? I think she had said something like, "How will I remember you?" And she says, "Do you want a portrait of me?" And then so she does. She draws a picture of her in this book on page 28. And so you know that even though she has had to move on with her life, she hasn't moved on necessarily in her heart. And then the next time you see her is, assumedly, this woman has never seen an orchestra, is what we've heard earlier in the movie. And she gets to go to the orchestra, and you know, our painter is there, and she sees Eloise, and Eloise does not see her, but she gets to see Eloise experience Vivaldi's Summer for the first time. And it's a very passionate piece, and you can really see how it affects her. I don't know, it's also one of those movies that I think, like, Denis Villeneuve.
Mm-hmm.
I think he probably appreciates quite a lot, because there's parts of it that you really don't need dialogue to understand exactly what is happening in the character's inner world. You're saying
that because he said he really liked visual storytelling as opposed to, like, dialogue in terms of shooting it.
Yeah, and you have so much of what I was reading about, like, the facelessness of women, so much of that, especially at the beginning, when, you know, these characters don't know each other, or there's unknowable parts of them, you know, you get robbed of seeing them, their faces, you know, you see them from the back, or you see the parts of their faces covered. Anyways, what do you guys think?
I like that you mentioned how we don't get to see Eloise's face at the beginning, because it does, like, amplify the sense of, like, longing and suspense you feel around her. And then, you know, you get the shot where she turns around and she is, like, so fucking beautiful.
Yeah.
It locks you into the perspective of Marianne, who... Just want to shout out Noémie Merlant, who was also in, I believe, an Alexis recommended film from 2022, The Innocent, and a Zach recommended film from 2022, Tar.
That's right.
So she had a fucking great 2022. I'm happy that, Hollywood is taking notice of her, and other French filmmakers are taking notice of her, because I thought she was fantastic in this, and has turned in at least one other very good performance that I've seen.
I really like the ending. I remember in our last episode, Fitzcarraldo, our lovely guest Kenny Williams, he mentioned that he really liked this movie, and that the ending in particular is really, really good. So when she goes to the symphony, and right before then, you know, they're looking at all the paintings, and you see this other portrait of Heloise, and most likely done by a man, because that was something discussed. And I remember one of my favorite conversations in the movie is she asks Marianne, like, do men ever pose for you? It's like, well, that's not really allowed. I mean, we do it in secret, and it's like it's understood, but like that's not really allowed. And it's like, well, why is that? And it's to prevent us from becoming considered great artists. It's because in order to be a great artist, you have to paint men, speaking to the patriarchal world that they live in. And at the very end, when you see her holding the book on that page, I was just like overcome with emotion, and this like seeing her smiling, and then once again the feminine gaze just takes it's such a big role in this film. The act of looking, the act of observing, and seeing Heloise just like being brought to just like such overwhelming emotion while listening to Antonio Vivaldi's Last Movement of Summer. I was weeping right along with her. I was absolutely crying like a baby. That ending is just like the piece de resistance to just such a beautiful film. And then also, I think for me personally, why I really enjoy this movie is because it all comes back to Moulin Rouge.
I made a note of this.
All comes back
if
to
I wasn't
Rouge.
feeling like, damn, I really wish we could explore some other periods. Then when I was reminded of Moulin Rouge, buddy, I was watching this and I was like, Eurydice, another movie.
Yeah, what did we just talk
covered
about?
Recently talked about Eurydice, and I was sitting there, and then I was like, about a minute later, I'm like, motherfucker, is Moulin Rouge.
This is great. This explores, and apparently this happened like later in production, where the director Céline, she reread, I guess, the legend of Orpheus and Eurydice, and it's just like, Moulin Rouge. You have these kind of like,
I wouldn't describe it as just like Moulin Rouge.
I
liked it a whole lot more.
It's just like Moulin Rouge, buddy. Where you have these two lovers who are in the underworld from Hades, and then to be brought back to live out their love life, it's fine, but Orpheus cannot look back at Eurydice. And it was interesting watching this movie because you kept getting these almost ghostly glimpses of Heloise behind her in like glowing moonlight. And I didn't really understand what was happening until the very end when she gets into her dress. This is like the last moment that they have together during their I don't want to call it fling because it feels so much more significant than that. But before she has to leave, the love affair, and she goes, turn around. And in that moment, when she goes to like turn around and look at me, that's when all came together for me.
Like, interesting.
Because I know they had read the story before.
Because there's somewhere in my notes, I'm like, when are we getting this shot where she turns around?
Yeah, so it
hits.
It hit me like a surprise. Like I almost want to reach out and go, no, don't do it. It turns around, looks at her. She's beautiful, and that's the image that we keep seeing. This foreshadowing that's happening. Orpheus, Marianne turned around and looked at Eurydice. So,
and then she paints Orpheus and Eurydice.
Yes.
Later.
And what I really like is the older gentleman who's like also enjoying art. And he's like, oh, that's interesting. That I wonder, like what guy painted this? And she's like, oh no, that's not a guy. Like I painted this. Like, oh, it's interesting. Most people show the faces of either Orpheus or Eurydice. Like usually it's right before or right after. She paints it right in that moment. We're like looking back, and she hasn't turned around yet, and so it's, I don't know. I just like I like what that.
Yeah,
it's
he
commenting,
says it's like they're saying goodbye.
Exactly, and it's commenting on this perspective that you don't often get in art, which is the feminine perspective, and that's what's so great about this movie is that's pretty much all it is. In my feminist theory course that I took years ago, that was something that our instructor really kind of drilled into us, is like the importance of women stories that are told, that have the authorship of a woman who is like directed and written by, but also shot by one. So having that perspective all around is really, really important. I think partly what just makes this movie so fucking beautiful and so special.
That leads me to a question for Alexis.
Yes.
What up with women and being horny for hands? What up with that? Because men are gross, and there's a tendency, by and large, I feel like there's a tendency amongst men to, fetishize different parts of the body. It's typical, like, oh, are you a titty or an ass man?
Feet.
Yeah,
feet.
man.
Feet.
Locking
feet.
the fucking door. I'm locking the door, Mick saying feet. But, like, I feel like there's one thing that I never really, like, hear guys say. It's never like, oh, man.
Right.
The hands on that chick. But in many movies that I feel like women tend to describe as being sexy, Alexis bringing up Pride and Prejudice.
Adam Driver.
Adam Driver as a guy.
His hands.
It's hands. So I'm curious about that. Thoughts, please.
Well, obviously this is subjective in my my brain here. But
speaking on behalf of all women, Alexis, take it away.
Tell us what they're all thinking.
I think that there's multiple layers to this. I think if we're looking specifically at like a period piece, we have to think about the fact that during most of this time, people are wearing gloves, right? So, if you are in like higher society and you are a woman, you are oftentimes wearing gloves. The only time you take off your gloves is probably at home when like something more not as stuffy, right? So hands, it's kind of like ankles almost, where it's like a bare hand is like this this vision of repression unleashed, But I think another layer of it is that for women, like, pleasure isn't it is sometimes hard won, right? Like a more touch needs to go into juicing her up, right?
Well said. Well said.
Just this incredibly eloquent fucking.
That's what I'm here for, is to put it in the most eloquent terms. But, women require like a higher amount of touch in some ways, and I think that that, I don't know, maybe with men, they are able to be touched quite a lot more. But with women, I mean, especially in this era of like repression, there's so much less touch. The only touch that you're getting is through your friends, like you're able to hold hands with your friends, they're able to touch you in some ways, but it's not the same thing as like men, like roughhousing with each other and touching each other in that way. You guys have this freedom, I think, to touch each other but you obviously can't touch women. Anyways, my point is that hands are so vital to a woman's pleasure that I think that even just the image almost of a hand or the barest touch is almost like a trigger response of like sensuality in a way. I mean, that's what it is in Pride and Prejudice, is the fact that this is one moment where he touches her bare hand to help her into the carriage, right? What's this other thing in Portrait of a Lady on Fire is seeing just her hands. And I don't know, hands are a receptacle of pleasure in a way,
Gotcha.
For juicing you up.
They're for juicing you up.
Okay, I think that makes like a lot of sense. And I as a man, and I think I'm kind of right here when I'm talking about men, is when it comes to like our role biologically speaking, we're just here
about cis men.
We're just here to procreate. Like that's what we do. And so we don't need warm up. We don't need really foreplay. Like it helps, but like men can just like fucking see something and be like tits, and then boom, you're done.
Wow.
Women,
straight
and
man.
I've talked to, the women that I've talked to, like it's a very important thing. It's like being in the mood and observing things. And I think that's a lot of kind of like what you're saying. It's like, it's so much more complex. It's actually so much more significant, the way like women, what they find attractive. Cause you got to remember that men are just fucking dumb.
It's also very intellectual in some ways. I mean,
Yes.
like, I do not profess to speak for all women, you know, but like I think that inherently like the sensuality is something that is triggered within our brains, you know, intellectually in some ways. And I think that you can see that through like the types of media that we're drawn to and I mean, and also just the fact that like so many women, you know, obviously not all women, are so drawn to a feminine man, an effeminate man. You look confused.
I was just immediately. I've just been. I was just thinking of all the women that I've met that just like love like lumberjack types that just live like. Which is interesting because I'm not one of those types.
How do you think I get laid?
It's like I don't. I'm so far from that. So sometimes when I meet women, they're like, yeah, they have to have like a big beard. They have to be like super hair. It's just to me, I don't find that attractive.
Yeah,
so
I don't get it.
It's fascinating to hear that there are people like, you know, straight women that really dig that.
Or bi women.
Or bi women.
Case of my girlfriend.
Or straight or gay men.
Bless.
Everyone's out here having fun.
Everyone out here who's into that, I love you.
Yeah.
You're awesome.
Zach
I think you're cool and you're right. That's what I'd say.
Also, I think on top of and you know, correct me if I'm wrong, Alexis, who is speaking on behalf of all women everywhere.
Yeah, Alexis, can you please tell us about all women, straight, gay, trans, cis, it's all women.
It's not just hands, too. Like something that, as I was watching this, something that I kept like finding just really erotic and captivating, just very sensual, was the act of looking.
I was about to say, I knew you were going to say that. I knew it.
God, yes. This really is just like an Alexis fucking triple threat movie.
It is.
Regency period piece, queer film, voyeurism.
Voyeurism, but just like when they are staring into each other's eyes, and just when it's being lit by candlelight, like you get the eye light of just like the flicker. This movie is so beautiful. That is something else that like doesn't necessarily really get like, you know, heterosexual men or gay men or whatever going. It's just like the act of just like looking at someone like, I just want to be with you, I crave you, and this sort of thing. And it's just such a sensual, erotic, intimate act in this film of them just looking at each other, like just like observing, and like one of the most beautiful erotic scenes to me is when Marianne and Heloise are kind of calling each other out for like things that they've observed about one another. It's like, oh, when you're nervous, you like touch your brow. Oh, like you kind of like you put your chin out when you do this. And then she's like, oh, you've been looking at me. Well, I've been looking at you. This is what you do when you feel this way and when you think this way. And they feel seen, like, oh my God, she's right. She has been looking at me and I've been looking at her. And oh my God, are we going to kiss? It's like that kind of thing, which is just like so... It's so cool. It's so fucking, man, it's electrifying. It's great. But then also on top of like looking, is it just me? Is there something about necks? Like their necks, like, oh my God. Let's see Alexis. Yeah, she's shaking her head. It's just so beautiful. Like
it's with the only other thing that's bare other than their hands.
Yeah. But they're just, and I know that must have been playing into it, because like when they finally like get intimate, like they're like caressing each other's necks and like nuzzling each other's necks. It's super sweet. It's super beautiful. It's super sexy. But I just, oh my God, this movie is firing all cylinders.
There is something almost animalistic about that, because if you think about it, what's the most vulnerable thing to do as an animal, which is to bare your neck to another, right?
That's true.
Yeah, so there's something very animalistic about it in a way, which makes it very hot.
Well, now I'm horny, damn.
But what you were talking about, the act of looking and re-looking and the vulnerability, I guess, in that, I think there's something, you know, just like obviously like soul deep about that, is wanting to be looked at, but to be seen and being looked at. And I think that that in some ways, like maybe what this movie is exploring and in the female gaze, is that when women are looked at by men, they are looked at to see what they want to see. I think, like kind of like in modern days is how we understand, like you fall in love with the idea of somebody, and these marriage portraits are kind of like a gift to the man of this virginal sight that they will always be able to keep even once their wife becomes a mother and grows old with age. They will always have this gift of their youth and beauty and virginity that they own, basically, and when Marianne looks at Eloise, there's none of that ownership, which is, I think, why she has such a visceral reaction to when I give this painting away, it's like I'm giving you away. And she says, oh, so now you own me, I think that the female relationship is, it wants to feel free of that, That's so much of what the movie was kind of, at least Eloise's character is about, is, trying to figure out how do I fit freedom into my life? What freedom can I have? And is able to find part of that in her relationship with Marianne for those brief days. And I guess in some ways, finds those freedoms in little ways, like in showing the book in her portrait or in going to the orchestra to listen to Vivaldi's Summer, the brief instances of freedom. Yeah.
Really quickly, it's a scholarly term that I'm missing it in my brain, but there's a term for, it's not just like when men view something, the male gaze is something often talked about in like discourse on like, feminism is just like the act of the way men look at something like it's something to ownership or something to dominate. And it's, often you get the term objectification, but there's another term that it's something like, it's kind of like, I want to say the dissecting of women. It's something like that, but it was a term that we were taught, and listeners, I know I'm not doing it justice, but if you know what I'm talking about, please let me know. But it's basically like, so often, like, to show that this woman is sexy to men, you get a shot of her in slow motion, you get panning up the legs, you see her bottom, or you see her cleavage, or whatever. You don't get that in this movie. You don't break people apart. You don't rob anyone of their
You're
humanity.
Talking about partialism, I think.
Is it partialism?
Partialism, it's like when you're focused on a specific part of the body other than the genitals.
Okay.
I don't know if that's exactly what you're talking about, but
it's of that.
That's kind of what I was thinking about when I brought up the hands thing, is men are often, partialize a woman's body.
Yeah, and this movie doesn't do that a lot. And I think that's part, and what's so odd is that yet this movie is just like so incredibly sexy and erotic, and it doesn't just have, it's just really objectifying shots of women. Like, in fact, one of my favorite shots is when she is doing a nude portrait of Heloise. And this is when she's doing a self-portrait. Excuse me, when Marianne's doing a self-portrait, and they have just made love, and they're both nude. And in order for her to see herself, she has a mirror over her genitals, and it's like such a beautiful shot where she's looking at herself, but it's framed in that way. It's just such an intimate, loving, sensual image, and I just really love it. I love the way this movie tackles it, because it just does it like so, I don't want to say like respectfully, but just it does it just so differently.
It's looking respectfully.
I will say it's different, and that's what I really like about this movie is that perspective. And one other thing, Alexis, you brought this up earlier. What I love is you talk about how this movie is devoid of men, thank God. In fact, when I was watching it and you get the carriage driver having breakfast in the kitchen, you're kind of it almost brings you out of the movie for a second. It's kind of jarring. You go, whoa. Dude.
What are you doing here?
Yeah, it's kind of like, gross. What? This is, no. You get out of here. But it is kind of jarring. And I read an article. I apologize for not being able to reference the author of it, but they were talking about it was for Wussy magazine, and she was mentioning that what's so beautiful about this love story is that it exists without judgment. There is no like, oh, this is wrong. Oh, we can't do this. Or there's no men in the story that are like, what are these lesbians? Like this is heresy. There's none of this that's happening. There's no judgment. There's no pressures of society, really. The only object of it is this husband, this faithless husband.
You do feel the timetable, which creates stakes.
It gives you a ticking clock.
Yeah.
But you don't get like this pressure of the patriarchy really in this film, and how that is just so lovely. Like you just get this romance on this island off of the coast of France.
Classic lesbian shit.
It's just really lovely. In fact, that was something that I remember when we watched.
It's where lesbianism was invented, on an island.
It was when I remember when we watched Call Me by Your Name, and I remember something that I really like about that movie, which is like, it's just a love story that doesn't have like, oh, like there's this, evil cis man that, wants to like bully these people for their sexuality. There's no, there's like threat of like dying from AIDS. Obviously that's a very, very important topic, and it's very dark, and that's something that fucking ravaged their community, which is really terrible and tragic. But it's nice to have a story that isn't about someone dying because of the way they identify, which is like, I love fucking Brokeback Mountain, but in a way it's kind of a bummer, because it's like, damn it, you just kind of want to see these guys love each other. And so that's something else that I really like about this movie, Portrait of a Lady on Fire, is that no one is punished. No one is being pressured by some outside patriarchal force, really. The only really part of it you have is this wedding that's unfortunately probably going to happen. Yeah, it just feels, I guess in that way, it feels incredibly safe. It just feels like this this sort of, I hate to say this term so early in the morning, but gay paradise.
I don't know that I totally agree, because I think you do feel the pressure.
Well, first of all, how dare you?
Yeah, well,
Sorry, go ahead.
I think that you do really feel the pressures of the patriarchy in this movie in its absence, in a way. Like, I think the thing that I found with this movie that's so like sad is the fact that we are getting this like uninterrupted, like true sort of period of freedom, and it's on a timetable, and you can feel that kind of closing in throughout the movie. Also, this movie should be called Portrait of a Mom Who Fucking Sucks, because her mom, terrible. I hate that lady. Oh my god. And then she's like, do the thing that you did when you were a child. Like, horrible. I hate that woman. But yeah, I think that you do feel that like societal pressure in its like absence from like being directly depicted on screen.
I think it's unfair to hate the mom.
Probably.
Because, I mean, she's almost in a way she's lived the same life in a way, where she is just, a portrait has gone ahead of her to some place she does not know, and this portrait will always hold her beauty and who she was before a marriage and before children. And your children will grow up, obviously, and they're going to get different ideas, and they may love you or they may not love you. And I think that there's something almost childlike in that need for connection to like who your child was before they became their own person in a way that where they still unconditionally loved you in the way that not all women, you know, you're forced into a marriage, right? And maybe you're happy in it and maybe you're not, but the only thing that you unconditionally will love is your children. And the only time that they are probably ever going to unconditionally love you is when they're entirely dependent on you. So there's almost this like romanticization of that era of when they were children. And so I think that there's actually something very inherently sad about her needing her daughter to do that to her, to remind her of this time when she had eyes only for her and loved only her, and she hadn't yet done anything that would make her look differently to her, you know?
Yeah, still fuck that lady, though. I don't like her.
No, what you really mean is fuck the patriarchy and what it makes women do to their children.
That part, yeah, good. That's what I said.
Correction
That's
corner.
what I said. I like that Mick is coming after me for my period piece take when I said something much stupider just now.
Hey, I'm just saying, hey, what did Napoleon say? When your enemy is making a mistake, don't interrupt him.
That's hella funny.
So
I watched Napoleon.
Really?
I watched Napoleon.
Did you?
No, I will.
Oh.
I could watch Napoleon.
Okay.
Talking about period pieces.
I got excited for a
I'll watch
second.
Napoleon.
So really quickly, I'm gonna
the least likely period piece for Alexis to pick.
Yeah, least likely ever.
That ain't happening. I'm just
No
gonna
freaky little men.
really quickly. I'm just gonna kind of shout out a few just things that are on the top of my head here that I really, really like. First of all, again, this movie very, very sensual. I love the sound design. There's something about like you have the crashing of the waves, very, very beautiful. But there's something so lovely and cozy about this film. And about halfway through the movie, I pinpointed what I think it is. Every time they're inside, there is a crackling fire. And the sound of the air pockets inside the wood just like popping, it's just, I don't know. It's like, I guess like, it's almost like ASMR for me, where it's just like the most calming sound. And so just the sound of like a crackling fireplace as they're gazing into each other's like fire-lit eyes. Come fucking on. This movie knows what it's fucking doing. And then something else I want to shout out is we talked about how our big topic for today's episode is most beautiful movies of the 21st century. I think it's safe to say that this is easily in the top 5. It was just breathtaking how beautiful this film is. And I kind of want to talk about like why that is. Like,
I would love to talk about why that is.
I think like a lot of the aside from the beautiful, beautiful close-ups of faces, the landscape shots that look like, it sounds cliche, but look like paintings. I think partly how that effect is sold is the very, very deep depth of focus.
Yeah.
So you have Heloise on the cliffside with a beautiful dress that is just such beautiful contrast to her surroundings, the beautiful ocean, but everything, the rocky cliffsides, way behind her, the grass in the foreground, everything is in sharp focus, just like if you were to do an oil painting. And I just love how that comes together because you can kind of, just like a painting, you can pick in frame what your eye chooses to focus on because that depth of focus allows you to do that. Yeah, Alexis?
You know what I was just thinking about now, too, is the fact that Eloise is in like a navy dress for most of the time. And Marianne is in this like almost like a burnt orange. And aren't those complementary colors? Like they're opposite of each other, kind of on the color wheel.
Yes.
That's a really good choice, like costume design, production design wise, to have them in complementary colors that are exact opposites of each other.
Yeah. And the emerald dress as well.
Yeah, the emerald dress as well, but the blue and the orange being exact opposites of each other. It's kind of nice when you first have them interacting with each other to have this like drawing of attention to the contrast between the two of them, to the assumption that like Marianne has possibly this more passion, I guess, to her, and then there's something more subdued about Eloise, and you know that that's not exactly true. I wonder then, what does the color green really signify when we have that costume change a few times to the green dress that she's like sits in for the portrait? I kind of wonder what the meaning behind that like color selection kind of is, because there's it's a really fucking good movie, so there's a reason why it was green, right?
Yeah, that's like one of those things I might have more of a take on if there weren't people fucking ripping the shit out of our roof. I do really want to rewatch this movie because I appreciated it. I appreciated it so much on a technical level, and I liked the story. But I didn't, emotionally connect to the story, which is not really the fault of the film or, frankly, the fault of me.
First of all, you need to watch this at night.
Yes.
Because this movie, again, it just looks so beautiful. It'll be a great effect if you just, if all of the lights off.
Yeah.
And also, just really side note, no one gives a shit about this or your listener, but this TV that I have here, one of the reviews about it is it's a really, really great TV, but it works the best in a dark room.
Yeah, of course.
So it's it's something to keep in mind next time you have an open evening. So throw on Portrait of a Lady on Fire.
Yeah,
get a little gay.
It is one. Listen, who doesn't want to get a little gay? Everybody's a little gay sometimes. It's Hollywood.
We all go a little gay sometimes.
God.
All right, Norman Bates.
I really do. I really do want to revisit this movie because I do suspect that I will like it more without the sound of construction going on, and I will have more thoughts on things of thematic significance. I would like to shout out, though, both a very sexy line and the most French shit I've ever fucking heard, which was, "Do all lovers feel they're inventing something?"
Oh, yeah.
That is very hot.
Such a good line.
But also,
it's so
French.
Perfectly Tumblr.
Yes.
I was gonna say, perfectly Tumblr. Just having just a still shot of that with that quote underneath.
Yeah. And really quickly, we keep talking about Heloise and Marianne, and we briefly talked about Sophie, but fucking shout out to Sophie.
Yeah.
She is so cool.
She's a good egg.
She's great. I just love having her around. I love their card game. They're just having fun, that shit. Or when she's posing in the green dress, just so that that Marianne will have reference of, oh, this is what the green dress looks like if it's being worn, because I can't have Heloise actually pose for me yet. That is just a really great sequence. But then also, quick question: the acapella, the bonfire scene where we actually see Heloise get her Portrait of a Lady on Fire. This is where she actually catches on fire. And it's that beautiful shot through the ripple of the heat and the flames looking at her with her dress on fire. Is that some witch shit? Because I feel like that's some witch shit. And
it reminded me of The Witch.
It's super witchy.
Oh, it reminded me of Midsummer.
So we're all being reminded of different 2010s
this is
A24 produced horror films.
I love that because, obviously, witchcraft and witches have long been used as a reason for men to just murder women or torture them. And so oftentimes witches, really what that is just women having a safe space and women just coming together to just be with other women and to help one another, in the abortion. And so I thought that was great.
My mom was just talking about this the other day to somebody about how a lot of witches were really just midwives.
Yeah.
And the reason why they were suspected of witchcraft was because they were going out at different times of the night. And most of the time they were just visiting women to check in on them or to deliver their babies. But they were often going out at night, during what people, think of as the devil's hours or whatever,
Yeah. Yeah, it's a much more extreme version of what happened during McCarthyism, where it's oh, I don't like this person. Let me just start a rumor that they're a communist, and then I'll destroy them socially, because that was the taboo. Back then, who
are you, Arthur Miller?
I don't like this woman.
The Crucible.
Communism was just a red herring, but I don't like this woman. I can easily squash her by just telling the local constable or whatever that, oh, she's a witch, and then boom, she's done for. And so I like that this movie incorporates, and it never comments on it, but with using like when they're scavenging or when they're foraging for a specific type of plant to help with Sophie's abortion, like that medicinal plants and stuff like that, like back in like the late 18th century, that shit would probably be looked at as witchcraft.
Yeah.
And so it's just that's another reason where I just love this isolated story on this island where there are no men. It's because, women can just like help one another out, and no one is at risk of being fucking killed or punished for it.
Yeah, I like that the sequence where they're trying to help Sophie with her abortion is kind of fun.
Oh, like she's hanging from the ceiling and stretching
like when
herself
she's
out?
hanging from the ceiling, or when they're foraging, or when she's running on the beach. Like, it is this very, like, oh, we're all coming together, we're all friends. I like that. I think that rules.
And also, I think partly what rules about that, I'll agree, is that it kind of throws, like, social hierarchy out the window. Because Sophie is a housemaiden, and Heloise is the
lady of the house,
and then Marianne is just a painter.
Yeah,
but when it's
three different social classes.
Exactly, but when the three of them are just together hanging out, no one is above one another. They're all helping. Like, Heloise is helping forage for plants in the ground to help Sophie. And that, I just love that. I love how it's just a fucking equal, this is what happens. You get rid of the men, good things happen. So maybe...
True.
Zach,
we'll be retiring from the show.
Maybe this should just be the Alexis show.
Alexis talking to herself.
LOL.
Yeah.
LOE.
I could do it. I could do it.
You could do it. It'd be great. Yeah, I love this movie. It's so goddamn good. It's so funny that I just said that thing, and now I'm going to follow it up with this. I do apologize, our female listeners, but you know what this movie's a great double feature with? The Lighthouse.
Boys. Yeah, boys.
Well, I'm just saying.
Boys.
No, I'm just saying.
Let's freaking
hear me out.
Dudes.
I'll make it quick. Hear me out.
I'm hearing you out, brother.
Christ.
Let's freaking
The Lighthouse is a movie that touches on, depending on how you read it, but I choose to read it this way, homoeroticism.
It doesn't, like, you don't need to read
it's
it
not
that way.
Super
it just
deep.
does.
Yeah. The subtext is pretty at the surface. It's about two men on an island.
I want to go to Boys Island.
This is about two girls on an island.
Let's go to Boys Island.
And they're both period pieces. And I honestly...
Yeah, that's a period piece.
And by the way, one is super colorful. The other one is in black and white. They're both beautiful.
Shaw, dude. Freaking Boys Island rules.
I just think that it would be a fun... Alexis doesn't agree. I just think it would be a fun, great double feature to have a portrait of a lady on fire, perhaps follow The Lighthouse. Maybe The Lighthouse should be first, but I'm just putting that out there. I think that would be a good double bill.
Well, I love that idea, and I think that idea is something that you guys will enjoy infinitely more than I will.
Probably. That's right. You don't like The Lighthouse, right?
Yeah, no, I'm not my favorite A24.
Yeah, for sure.
To be honest, Robert
Eggers.
What else has he done other than The Northman and The Lighthouse?
The Witch.
Yeah, I like The Witch. I think The Witch of those three is the one that I probably like the most.
Mm-hmm.
And then what was I think there's too much men in The Lighthouse.
Let's go to
and then
Boys Island.
Too much female suffering in The Northman.
Let's go to Boys Island.
These are complete. That's very valid. And again, this is the last thing I'll say about it, but like I've mentioned this before. The more I talk about The Lighthouse with other women, the more I realize like they generally don't like it.
Let's go to Boys
Island.
Okay. Just Zach and Mick
what
on
it's like
Boys Island.
Being stuck in solitude with another girl. Sometimes it can be a little gross, but mostly it's nice. Being stuck in solitude with two men is disgusting.
Freaking awesome.
You
awesome,
guys
dude.
are disgusting.
Cool time. Awesome time.
I know you're fond of me, lobster.
I think I'm pretty fucking gross, okay? I think I'm a nasty
goddamn
bitch,
fox.
okay? But they're fucking disgusting.
I apologize. I took this off the rails.
Mick,
I was just saying.
I feel like we started this button heads, and now I've never felt closer to you, my friend.
Yeah, I know. This is,
Let's go to Boys Island.
this is the show. This is our
that
format.
is how we end up killing each other on an island.
Yeah, that would be.
I'm like, we're getting along so good, and then you're like, I don't like how you don't like Regency Period pieces, and then we kill each other.
Then it's all over.
Well,
But anyways, apologies, listeners. That's a little idea. I wanted to throw out there.
No apologies needed.
If there's anything else that we would like to add?
Yes.
Okay.
I just really quickly, because we talked so much about the ending of this film, which does rule.
Yeah.
But we're talking about great looking films. We're talking about cinematography and camera work. The way that the final shot of Eloise as she's watching the symphony and she's crying tracks her like most infinitesimal head movements. Like the camera moves with the movements of her head, and she's not like moving her head a ton.
I didn't notice that.
It's incredible. It's like these infinitesimal camera movements that like lock you in on her every single move. It's a similar thing to what Fincher does in a lot of his movies. Particularly Zodiac is the one where I notice it is like the camera will move with micro movements from a character. Someone will pick up a pen and the camera will
move with it.
Yeah. And it's really, really effective at just like locking you into perspective. And I didn't notice it anywhere else in the movie, but it happens in that final shot. And it kind of floored me.
Nice.
Again, if you're living in a place where you've got a roof that's good, I highly encourage you to watch this film because I really think you're going to dig it.
Yeah. No.
And then go to Boys Island and watch the lighthouse.
Yeah, I didn't notice that. Maybe it's just because I couldn't see very well through my tears. Sad. God, fucking Summer by Antonio Vivaldi. That song fucking hits, man. God. I love that. I love it when she's like teaching her how to like do it on piano. That's a really sweet scene.
it is. Yeah.
This was great. Any final thoughts about a Portrait of a Lady on Fire? Alexis?
Both of our leads I've seen in other movies, and they continue to impress me. So, like I said at the very beginning, 5 stars, no notes. It's hot. It's gay. They're wearing gorgeous, gorgeous dresses. No notes. My note, okay, my side note is that you cried at the end, right?
Mm-hmm.
I cried when she's touching the hand of the little kid next to her as she's getting, like, her abortion, right?
Oh, yeah.
I cried a little during that where she's just, like, kind of looking at the little baby. I don't know. To me, that was just such a beautiful, beautiful moment. And then I also cried when I saw the number 28 in the book. In her portrait, because I just thought it was so beautiful that, she gets to know that she's still thinking about her to this day. So I think by the time I got to the end, instead of feeling like sad, I felt so almost happy because I felt like, isn't it so wonderful that she can have this experience with this music because she's experienced love, she's experienced passion, she's experienced life, and that in itself is a type of freedom, because I think the most constricting thing would have been to never have known that at all. So I actually didn't cry at the end, but yeah.
Wow, that's That's a good button to put on. Absolutely. Yeah, no, when you see that portrait at the end, man, I was smiling like a motherfucker when I realized what it represented. Like, that shit's just so beautiful. Zach, closing thoughts?
I gotta watch it again. I liked it. I gotta watch it again.
Yeah, definitely watch it again.
I need to feel more things other than impressed during this movie. Because I was impressed, but I would like to feel emotionally involved. Shout out to the guys making our building safe.
Yes.
Well, do we have a pick for next week?
You
picked this one.
Did pick this one. Yeah. Where's this boat going?
So, after much deliberation, I'm just going to put a little beep beep. I'm gonna put a little blip sound in here.
30 minutes later.
We've landed on that this next week will be a consensus week.
Yes.
It's not a compromise, it's a consensus.
Consensual.
It is a very consensual pick.
And hey, guess what, fuckers? We're going back to 2019.
Oh, wow, we're going way back.
We're staying in 2019.
Yeah.
Just Jordan Belfort. I'm not fucking leaving.
Fantastic.
Where
are we going?
We will be discussing a filmmaker who I have been wanting to watch more films from. I've seen one of his films, which I enjoyed quite a bit. I watched it in college.
Yeah.
We are going to be discussing Pedro Almodovar's Pain and Glory. It's a 2019 film starring Antonio Banderas.
I can't wait.
This
is our first Pedro Almodovar film.
It is, and I'm really excited because I haven't watched. This is a fucking embarrassing admission. Mm-hmm. I have not watched a Spanish language Antonio Banderas movie.
Oh, really?
Yeah, never. Never in my life.
Don't know if I have either, actually. So, I might have. I don't know.
Yeah, we will be discussing Pain and Glory next week.
Not Pain and Gain by Michael Bay. That's not what we're covering.
Another phenomenal film, but it does not fit in this month.
Hey, guys, what's going on? You watching Pedro Almodovar over here?
God.
Jesus.
But yes, you can find it wherever you rent your movies.
Cool. Well, I'm really excited. This is going to be fun. I'm excited to go here.
I'm glad we looped back to Almodovar. Yeah, well, that's where you can find the film. And if you want to find us, the Film Majors, you can find us at Film Majors Pod on Instagram, Threads, Blue Sky, and TikTok. You can find us on YouTube at the Film Majors. And you can shoot us an email at filmmajorspod@gmail.com.
And if you're watching this on YouTube, please like, comment, and subscribe.
Yeah, you're probably watching it months after it came out. We're still catching up.
Yeah.
And with that, we out.